What's the deal with Pluto? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, this is Jill from the North Woods, exploring your world one small step at a time. Today we're going to talk about Pluto. I never really gave a lot of thought to Pluto until it stopped becoming a planet. I wanted to know more. Was Pluto a planet? Were we always wrong about this? And whether or not we should put Pluto back as a planet. The idea is that we're in our solar system, right? We have the sun and all the inner planets, and then we go far, far out past Neptune into the Kuiper Belt. So think about it this way. We have our inner planets, right? We have Mercury and Earth and Mars, but then we start heading out past Neptune into the Kuiper Belt. And you know what's there? Our beloved little planet, Pluto. Now, you might remember that Pluto used to be a planet, and then it wasn't. And there's a lot more going on with Pluto than we really think of. But today we're going to uncover this idea of what is Pluto and what we've learned about Pluto in all our space missions. First of all, it was discovered in 1930 by an astronomer, and he worked with the Lowell Observatory in Arizona, and he was working with Percival Lowell directly, who predicted this mysterious planet X beyond Neptune. And in February 18th, 1930, they noticed a tiny moving dot on a photographic plate. And that dot, Pluto. And it came from the name of an 11-year-old girl in England named Venetia Burney, who thought the Roman god of the underworld was a fitting name for this far-off world. And then it begs the question, though, what is Pluto anyway? Officially, it was our 9th planet for 76 years, but it's weirder than that. It's only about 1,500 miles wide, smaller than our moon. It takes 248 Earth years to go around the sun, and a day of Pluto, meaning full rotation, is 6.4 days long. The orbit is tilted and elliptical, and sometimes comes closer to Neptune than and sometimes gets closer to the sun than even Neptune. So it's not a regular planet. It's a world of frozen nitrogen, rock, and ice. It has 5 moons, which are going to be little orbiting objects. And the largest, Charon, is about half the size of Pluto itself. So maybe sometimes people even consider Pluto and Charon to be a binary system or binary planet that work together. But this orbit point lies outside of Pluto itself. And sometimes people consider Pluto and Charon a binary planetary system together. It's what we would actually call a dwarf planet. In 2006, the International Astronomical Union stirred up the cosmos and redefined what a planet was. It must orbit the sun. It must have a spherical shape due to its gravity. And then the third thing, it has to have a gravitational pull that it cleared the neighborhood of other objects by its own gravitational pull. And that's what Pluto failed. So it became a dwarf planet. This upset a lot of people. There were a lot of late-night jokes about it. People got into heated debates about it. I'm in favor of Pluto being a planet, but that's just me. The controversial made one thing clear, that Pluto had a lot more going on to it than just a ball of rocks. And the controversy made it clear that people actually really liked Pluto, even though it was just a ball of rock and ice, essentially. But before Pluto's demotion, NASA launched the New Horizons spacecraft in 2006, and after 9.5 years of travel, it flew by Pluto on July 14th, 2015. It was the first spacecraft to ever even get close, and it was worth the wait. I was so excited when they said they were sending out a probe to go look at it. New Horizons revealed that Pluto had a giant heart-shaped glacier known as the Tombaugh Regio. We saw ice mountains, frozen plains, hint of maybe volcanoes that erupt water and ice instead of lava at all. Probably doesn't have that core. And a very thin atmosphere, blue haze that goes around the outside of it. despite the fact it's very far from the sun. People were kind of stunned by it because they thought it was dead, a big dead frozen rock. But instead, Pluto was more alive than what we thought about. And on that spacecraft were Clyde Tombaugh's ashes that were some way, basically getting him in his ashes to visit Pluto. And the thing that we learned is that there are all sorts of things not out there in the Kuiper Belt. Pluto's not alone. It has a vast region, other icy bodies, Eris, Hamua, Makemake, I believe it sounds Hawaiian, all other dwarf planets in their own rights. And so there are some astronomers that believe that there actually is a real ninth planet out there, Planet 9, and that it's actually bigger, that it actually could be tugging other objects into its orbit. And so that would actually indicate that it is a real planet, while Pluto probably isn't. But we still love Pluto. We still think about Pluto. We still wish it was a planet, but it is a big debate. So it's exciting to see that that's part of it. When we take a look at these objects that are out in the Kuiper Belt, these other dwarf objects, what else is out there? I mean, with Pluto, Pluto has a lot of friends out there. There are other dwarf planets keeping it company out there in the Kuiper Belt and other areas. There are some quick ones that we know of. Like I said, Pluto, discovered in 1930 in the Kuiper Belt, has 5 moons. And then there's Eris. Eris was a scattered sort of disk, discovered in 2005, has 1 moon, and it's slightly smaller than Pluto, but it's much more massive. It helps trigger, I guess, that clearing of the area because of that mass. It would give it enough gravity so that it could pull other objects into it. And this was nicknamed Xena for a while. I was like really excited about Planet Xena. I thought that was kind of cool. But it helps us define, I guess, Pluto a little better now that we can see there's another dwarf planet there too. The discovery of Eris, or Xena, like I said, was in 2005. A number of astronomers discovered this scattered disk beyond there. It was initially believed to be larger than Pluto, but then it turned out that it was not quite. And because it didn't have a name yet, people gave it the name Xena after Xena, the warrior princess. And they called the moon Gabrielle, Xena's sidekick. That was kind of funny. But it sparked another planetary debate. If Pluto was a planet, shouldn't Xena be a planet? Or maybe neither of them should be a planet, and that's when we got the new definition. Xena was demoted when Pluto got demoted and officially named Eris after the Greek god of discord. And like I said, Eris is pretty close in size, but a little bit smaller than Pluto, 27% more massive, takes 557 years to orbit the sun, and it's, again, another thing. There are other objects out there as well. And then there's Haumea. All these names sound kind of Hawaiian. I don't know if they are Hawaiian. And in Hawaiian, you pronounce every letter, so maybe that's what it is. It was discovered in 2004, confirmed in 2006, located in the Kuiper Belt, has 2 planets that also sound very Hawaiian. And it spins so fast every 4 hours that it's the shape of a flattened football. So it's, again, another dwarf planet. Makemake, or I hope that's the name, discovered in 2005 in the Kuiper Belt, has 1 moon. It's very, very faint, and it was named for a god in the Eastern Islands. It's very red and extremely cold, about minus 240 degrees Celsius. Ceres, Ceres, is discovered in 1801. It's in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, has no moon, and it's the only dwarf planet located in the inner solar system. And because it's in the inner solar system, we sent a rover to it called the Dawn mission. It has water, possibly briny surface, that's interesting, salt water, and it's an interesting twist of everything that we know about dwarf planets. It's not really a moon. It's not orbiting another planet, so they think it's another dwarf planet all by its lonesome. The astronomers who discovered it thought that they found the missing planet between Mars and Jupiter. it fit the bill, and they thought they originally were going to classify it as a planet, the eighth planet, in fact, and school books in the 1800s listed Ceres as a planet like Mercury or Mars. But again, this asteroid belt kind of messed things up. They discovered more objects out there. Again, it wasn't clearing its own orbit. Lots of small rocky things out there in that area. And so they gave them a new classification of asteroid. So Ceres was demoted from planet to asteroid and has remained that way for the last 150 years. Ceres was never a moon because it orbits the sun directly, not another planet, and you have to be orbiting a planet in order to be a moon. So that's kind of makes it a really interesting piece, that these parallel stories of things that we thought were planets, thought were asteroids later, thought were dwarf planets, got voted off the island, ended up starting their own club of really cool things that we can now observe and fly different missions to it so we can see exactly what it is. And to tell you the truth, there's a whole bunch of other things out there too. There's something called Sedna, has 11,000-year orbit around the sun. There's another one that is slightly smaller than Pluto that they thought was a moon. And all sorts of objects out there in the Kuiper belt, in the asteroid belt. And this gives us a lot of thought about all the different cool things that are out there in our outer solar system. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. I appreciate you listening. If you have any cool dwarf planets that you like, let me know. Put it in the chat channel. You can email me at jill@startwithsmallsteps.com. I'd love to hear, do you have a telescope? I don't think anyone's telescope could see a dwarf planet, but we have great pictures. My challenge to you is to go out there and go look at some of the pictures our probes have taken images of. It's really cool to see what Pluto looks like. Thanks so much. Have a great day.